faster payments, more predictability and transparency, tracking of payments, and rich payment information. And that, in the end, will give an enriched service to the corporate treasurer, for instance.
Hello, and welcome to our masterclass series discussing recent developments in correspondent banking, brought to you by The Banker magazine. My name is Joy Macknight, and I'm the Transaction Banking and Technology Editor at The Banker. Here with me is Christian Westerhaus, Global Co-Head of Client Products and Solutions at Deutsche Bank, and Wim Raymaekers, Global Head of Banking Markets at Swift. Thank you so much for joining us today. In the final part of this series, we now look to the future and explore how together the industry can create the next generation of correspondent banking. So, Wim, what do you think? How can correspondent banking modernize and really move with the times?
Well, I think correspondent banking can modernize. It's a very cooperative co-creation that we've seen for many years in that space. I think it needs to be a combination. I think it's around business rules and overlay services that speak directly to customers. It's about bringing in new technology, blockchain, distributed ledgers, peer-to-peer messaging. We should explore those new technologies. And thirdly, also about smart collaboration between banks, where banks look at other areas like liquidity, like compliance, to improve the practices and improve the efficiencies in correspondent banking. But I think at the same time that needs to be done in a smart way, because just unplugging one piece of technology and putting something in, it needs to fit within the existing processes of banks. 4,000, 5,000 banks out there. It's a very open model. So we need to look at real-world innovation, whereby we look at adoption of that technology by the correspondent banking community. Only then, when there's adoption of that new technology, then we will have made a step forward, I believe.
Okay, and how will SWIFT's new initiative, the Global Payments Initiative, how will that actually take correspondent banking forward?
Indeed, we just announced a new global payment initiative that banks can offer to their customers. We believe that the experience in what customers will see, the corporate treasurers, will be quite dramatic. And that's because that new service is built on the existing foundations that banks have out there, with that overlay of business services. At the same time, we'll bring in new technology innovations so that banks can provide an enriched service to their customers. Faster payments, more predictability and transparency, tracking of payments, and rich payment information. And that, in the end, will give an enriched service to the corporate treasurer, for instance. That's where we bring correspondent banking to the customer experience. Excellent.
And obviously, Deutsche Bank is a strong supporter of this initiative. What changes will it bring its clients, and what difference will it make?
In the first place, it's being developed on a very strong fundament of compliance, reachability, the network effect, and proven standards. These have been great achievements made over more than 40 years within collaboration, and despite the fact that many correspondent banks are also fierce competitors. And this will be taken to a next level by looking into drivers and levers where we think we can improve it, in terms of transparency, in terms of compliance, using the new KYC directories more rigorously, in terms of traceability of payments, and looking more into the end-to-end offering, taking into account the needs of the sending client and the beneficiary client. We need to discuss each of these blocks, yet we must not take out of sight what the end-to-end offering should be. And by definition, yes, this can be a same-day experience and even faster.
Okay, but what will it take to make it a real success?
It takes an understanding that we got to further develop, and that by critical market players. So we need global coverage of the most important markets. And I'm here speaking not about 5 or 6 markets, it will be 20 to 30 countries with their currencies supporting it. It requires leadership, whereas the current model has been built on consensus. We mustn't lose that consensus, yet we also need discussions and leadership in order to take it forward. And by the leading correspondent banks and global transaction banks, it also means commitment to invest and commitment to communicate and work together with global providers or communication players such as SWIFT, standard setters, network provider, etc.
Yeah, I think it's that setting a new standard, a new benchmark. That's at the end of the day, it's the corporate treasurer or the customer, that needs to get excited. So that's key, setting that new benchmark. And secondly, the point I think Christian made is about the open collaborative space. It needs to be supported by the financial industry. It needs to be open and global in order to provide that service to corporates who do business globally. So those two elements together, I think, could be the magic for success.
It also requires support by regulators, where, for example, comes to the opportunity to exchange data in compliance cases, like in AML cases, etc., in order to deal with the exceptions. Overall, it requires a sort of end-to-end collective responsibility or accountability for the service level that we want to bring towards the clients.
That's probably the third key ingredient there is the compliance and the security, because it still needs to meet all those requirements. Also from the customer's point of view, they want a secure service where your money is not lost. So that security and resiliency element is really key.
The advantage is that we can build it on the current fundament where we don't compromise what does work today. It comes from the roots of that service.
Exactly.
Well, that's excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you very much for joining us for this masterclass series.